All right, so let's take a look at graphing parabolas. Okay, so we can open this up. Now, what we're going to be doing is graphing these equations here. And you see there's all these steps listed out here to kind of help you figure out just the steps that are involved. Okay, so first we want to start with, first of all, this is in vertex form, like we talked about in class. Okay, so that means that if that's -2, that the x value of the vertex, the point in the middle, is 2, not -2. And then the y value is 3. Remember that y value doesn't change. So let's go ahead and put that on the graph. So 2 and 3. And then what I also want to do is graph the axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's that first part. Graph the vertex, then draw the axis of symmetry. Okay. Okay. And just to remind you, the axis of symmetry is the equation for that is x equals whatever the x value is where it crosses. Okay, so the x equals 2. Now, what you want to do is graph another point, okay, because we want to create a 5-point parabola. Okay, so graph the second point. First, we need to pick an x value that is 1 more than the x value of the vertex. Okay, so the x value of the vertex here is 2. That point is 2, 3. So I want to pick a point that would be to the right that's 1 more than that 2. So the x value of 3. So what I'm going to do with that 3 is plug it into the equation to be able to find the y value. So I'll make a quick little table over here. I already know that the point in the middle is 2. So we're looking to the point, we're looking for a point to the right, which is, or 1 more than the vertex. So we're going to plug in 3 and find the y. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So I'm going to plug in 3. That's why I wrote f of 3 here. And I'll go ahead and plug that into the equation. So now 3 minus 2. And again, I'm just plugging in that 3 right there. Now I'll just evaluate it. 3 minus 2, that's 1. 1 squared is 1. Then plus 3 is 4. So the y value for the x value of 3 is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that up here on the graph. 3 and 4. Now, the nice thing about parabolas is that they're symmetrical, so I'm going to reflect that point right over the axis of symmetry. So that means if it's 1 to the right from the axis, that means it's 1 to the left. Okay, so there's 3 points. Now I just need to get 1 more and then reflect that point over. Okay, so now I'm going to go 1 more to the right. So first I picked 3, now I'm going to pick 4. So I need to just look for the y value of 4. Okay, so we do the same thing. I plug in that 4. Evaluate it. Okay, 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And then 4 plus 3 is 7. So the y value for 4 is 7. So now plug in or plot that point on your graph. 4 and 7. And again, since it's always the same on one side for parabola, reflect it over to the other side, right here. Okay. Now, parabolas are U's, they're not V's, so make sure that when you connect these dots, you make a nice smooth U at the bottom. And then it kind of just goes straight up to the left and right. Okay, so there's your first graph. Okay, now this one, it doesn't have parentheses in vertex form. Okay, so if there's no parentheses here, this can also be written this way as x plus 0. That's the number inside the parentheses. And a plus 1, so that means the vertex is actually 0, 1. So now we're still going to do the same thing. We're going to pick points to the left and right. So first we have 0. Sorry, not the left and right. We're going to pick 1 more than 0. Oh, first we need to plot that point. So let's plot 0, 1 right there. So that means the axis of symmetry is on the y-axis, or it pretty much is the y-axis for this one. Okay, so the axis, the equation for that would be x equals 0. Okay, so now I'm going to again pick one x value bigger than 0, and I'm going to plug in that 1 into the equation to find the y. So now it's g, so I'll say g of 1 this time, equals -2. And now I plug in the 1. Again, I'm just plugging in the 1 to the x value there, or the x variable. So now you gotta be careful with this. Remember your PEMDAS rules, okay? Do the exponent first. So 1 squared is 1. Then you multiply the -2. Let's write that out. Okay, so now -2 times 1, -2, and then add 1, and we get -1. So that is the y value for the second point. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So 1 and -1. Okay, now I'm going to do that again. Pick another point. Oh, and before I do the next point, remember, again, here's the axis of symmetry in the middle. So I just reflect that point over to the other side. Okay, now again, I pick one more x value, x value more than the last point. So 2. So I'm going to plug that in. -2 times 2 squared plus 1. Okay, so now remember I first do the exponents. 2 squared, which is 4. Now I multiply -2 times that 4. Get -8 plus 1, which is -7. So there's my x value for the next point. 2 and -7 all the way down here. Okay, again, the axis of symmetry is right here on the y-axis, so I just reflect that point right over the line, and there's my u. It's a little bit skinnier than the last one. Okay, trying to make that curve as nice as possible. Okay, and there you go. There's your graph. Okay. Okay, so now this one. Okay, the steps are the same, except you will need to use the value of the denominator to increase the x value. Because the value of a is a fraction and not just a whole number, this makes it a little difficult to figure out what x to plug in. Okay, but it's not too bad. Okay, so now first find the vertex. Okay, the vertex, as always. X is a liar, so it's not +5, it's -5. And then x, the y value is -6. So let's go ahead and plot that. -5, -6, right there. So again, that's where the axis of symmetry is. Okay, and the axis of symmetry, the equation is x equals -5, because that's the x value there. And I keep repeating that because that's something I want you guys to know. Okay, now remember that's positive, so you should see your graph go up. Okay. Now, when I pick an x value, okay, instead of doing one more to the right, so the x value in the middle versus -5, instead of doing one more to the right, I'm going to do 2 more to the right. 2 more. Okay, so to the right of -5 is 1, 2, the x value of -3. And again, I'm looking at that denominator. Because the denominator is, because it's a fraction, you want to go every 2. So if this is 1/3, then you would skip 3 x values to get to the next point. Because if you plug in -4, you're going to end up with some kind of decimal, which won't graph on a lattice point or one of these points where all the lines cross. Okay, so you want to increase, start with the vertex x value, then increase every 2. So here I'm going to go +2. And then my next point that I plug in, I'm going to add 2 again. So the next one will be -1. Okay, so first let's plug in that -3. Put something under this so I don't punch a hole into this. All right, so now 1/2 times -3 plus 5 squared minus 6. Okay, so now -3 plus 5 is 2. Now again, first do the exponent. 1/2 times 2 squared is 4. Now you can do this in the calculator if you want, okay, or put this over 1. and then multiply across.